Hey, today I thought I was gonna bring something new, and it turns out that, well, it is new, but it's not new. Yeah, look, after yesterday, I was like, I kinda wanna listen more of this. And because I did review Apex Twin, I was like, yeah, definitely, let me search something else. And I came across another EP. I love EP personally. I think that people, I mean, as much as I love studio albums, I also love EPs because it's like they're usually much more experimental for bands. So I actually do enjoy digging through a lot of EPs and I guess reviewing them, even though I know that not a lot of people do that. But still, I was digging through it through Apex Twin EP's list, which is fucking massive. And I saw this EP called Analord 10, and honestly, I am really sad that I usually download this to go on walks, so I don't tend to have like internet or whatever. And unfortunately, I thought that this was just like the name, like some futuristic. No, it turns out that it's part of like a huge. I mean, technically, this was the first to be released as far as I could research, but it's part of a broader project that is the Analord project, which is like a 3-hour long project or something with like 10 other parts. And unfortunately, I didn't review any of them because, yeah, I thought that this was just on its own, and I will probably do the rest of them because I'm very interested in it. But this essentially is, I guess, a departure from a lot of the other stuff that I heard from Apex Twin. For the most part, before it was more like this drum and bass sort of thing. This Analord 10 is far more focused on the sort of like futuristic sound, I would say. Like, it reminds me a lot, in a way it's futuristic, but it reminds me a lot of like the 80s/90s EDM sounds, especially like, the more, I guess, underground, like techno, I would say. I think it's more like techno. It's not necessarily drum and bass. It's very like techno. It has a lot of emphasis on the like weird sounds, I guess. There's a lot of weirdness going on. It's not so much the distortion, it's more specifically these almost muted sounds. Again, very prominent in like techno, especially. It's essentially, yeah, I think it's something like, what was it called? Oh, I saw a video one day explaining like the subgenres of EDM, but yeah, it's basically like on the techno family, but it's more of these 90s futuristic techno that it's actually very fast paced. There's a lot of the typical, it's kind of like drum and bass, but it's much more fast paced, and yeah, but a lot of the sound, especially a lot of the synth sound and everything, it sound very futuristic. They sound basically what the 90s thought the future was gonna be like, what the 90s thought the 2000s were gonna be like, and then it wasn't like that. But still, that's kind of what it sounds like. It was actually released in 2005, as far as I know, but it's definitely a departure from the super distorted sounds and the, at least from what I heard yesterday, the more melodic ambient experiences, which were very nice. But honestly, this is also very nice. I generally would not know if I couldn't actually see who actually made the album. I mean, technically this is under another alias. It's not under the alias Apex. Okay, technically it's under the alias Apex Twin, but the Analord project was released under the alias Aphex. So I guess there's that. Which is why, like, I thought that this was just one EP and not, an entire project, because the first Analord 10 was released under Apex Twin, but then it was reissued, and every other Analord part was actually released under AFX alias. So yeah, that's why I thought it was just one. It's kind of problematic for me, but yes, still, it's definitely way more. Again, it's different, it's way more futuristic, there's way more emphasis on, especially like the very fast sort of little combination of these very muted sounds, sort of like, drum and bass, but way more muted, with these synth that sounds sort of futuristic sounding, alien-like, sounds, I would say. It sounds definitely different, and I would not be able to recognize that this would be Aphex Twin, especially considering the other stuff that he's put out earlier. And I think it's at this moment that I sort of started understanding that I think Aphex Twin, a lot of his songs don't really have a structure, and that's something that I already pointed before, but a lot of his songs don't really have a structure, and that's actually very interesting for me because I think he's one of the few people, because usually, almost always, there's a certain structure to the songs, and when it comes to EDM, that structure might not be so focused on narrative or whatever, but it's still there. It's usually focused on like giving you a drop or giving you a section to like, pay off the, build up or setup or whatever. And a lot of Aphex Twin songs just don't really do that. In fact, I don't remember any that did. A lot of them, in a way, kind of feel discombobulated because they don't have that structure. In terms of like composing the songs, it seems that it doesn't really care that much about it, and I think there's no problem with it because I think a lot of his focus is on specifically how stuff sounds, and it's more on like the engineering side, the coming up with interesting cool sounds, rather than specifically trying to compose something that sounds good, if that makes sense. At least sounds good from a perspective of the composition, not necessarily from the sounds, right? It's like I think that there's two ways of making a song sound good or catchy. You either make sounds that sound really good, or you make a composition that sounds really good. And I think Aphex Twin definitely goes more on the side of the sounds themselves. In a way, it reminds me a lot of Mr. Bill. Mr. Bill is a composer. It's like a EDM. He mostly does glitch shop stuff, and very interesting is that a lot of his songs also don't really have that structure. They have more structure than Aphex Twin, that's for sure, but a lot of his songs kind of just are there to sound good and to mess with like the interesting sounds, more so than to try and actually have a coherent, well-composed EDM song, right? And I find that fascinating because like these people can make stuff that actually sounds so interesting and make stuff that sounds just super crisp and super clean. And I find that super interesting about Aphex Twin is that somehow only focusing on like the sounds and not really caring about like an overall composition of a song, like a lot of people outside of EDM or even in EDM would care. They actually manage to create songs that are actually super catchy, that are super interesting, that engage you a lot, and that's something that I appreciate a lot. As far as this EP goes, obviously, again, my mistake. I should have probably realized and researched. I don't tend to do a lot of research before I listen to things because I don't want to like get spoiled or anything like that. I usually tend to only do a little bit of research after listening to the thing, and honestly most of the times after recording the audio for the reviews. So yeah, my bad, I should have realized. But yeah, the EP is like 12-13 minutes long, I think. It has 2 songs, that's pretty much it. Yeah, there's not a lot to talk about. So my mistake, I will definitely someday I will definitely go through the entire Analord series, because again, my mistake, and I really want to see, like, because again, it sounds super futuristic, and again, like, the songs might not have a lot of, I guess, quote-unquote composure or whatever, right? But they do sound interesting, and this is something right up my alley. Like, I love shit like this. Honestly, I was also a huge fan of the more ambient stuff from Come to Daddy, and even the distorted songs did have some, nice stuff to them. So honestly, I'm becoming a huge fan, I guess you could say. But look, I understand why people fucking love the guy so much. Like, generally, it's really nice to be able to sort of delve deep into an artist that, so many people seem to love, and then realize, oh shit, this is why people love this artist. That is really cool. But yeah, as for my vibe meter, honestly, I'm vibing with an 8 out of 10 for this on Analord 10 thing. I don't know, like, I'm just, I was vibing with it, you know what I mean? So yeah, but sorry for the short thing, but that's it pretty much for today, and I'll see you tomorrow.